Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Virtual Sunday School. Well, if like me, you were a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, or you watched The Lion King, you're familiar with the phrase, be prepared.
Yeah, be prepared. We'll be prepared. For what?
Well, in today's story, the parable of the 10 virgins, we're going to meet 10 young ladies where everything went wrong. To better understand this story, let's look at it from a modern perspective. There were these 10 young ladies, and there was going to be a party that was happening that night, and they were all waiting to get this text that was going to tell them the where and the when. So these ladies were really excited about wanting to go to this party of the year, so they were waiting by their phones with bated breath. Now, 5 of those ladies were really smart. They knew that their phones might die, so they brought their chargers along just in case. But the other 5, not so smart. They were playing on their phones all day long. They were looking at YouTube. They were playing Candy Crush. They were going on all kinds of social media. Well, guess what? The party ended up getting delayed. And so the text telling them the where and the when, that also went out late, and by the time it went out, the phones of the ladies that were not so smart, their phones had died and they never got the text. So now, the 5 foolish ladies realize that their phones had died, and they look up at the clock and they see that it's 11 o'clock at night, and they're thinking, oh my goodness, the text must have gone out. They can't call the 5 wise ladies who are already on the way to the party, because what? Their phones are dead. So they think, okay, well, let's maybe find a 24-hour store and we'll go get our phones charged there. Well, they don't know where that store is because there's no GPS because the phone is dead. And so they wander around aimlessly until finally, by the time that they figure out where the party is and they get there, the party is well over. Now, the biblical story is very similar, except instead of phones, it was oil lamps. Now, the reason for the oil lamps is that the 10 young ladies were waiting for the bridegroom, who we call the groom today, and they were all going to go together to this huge wedding party. Well, what happened? The bridegroom was delayed. He was late. Well, by the time he arrived, it was dark. Now, the smart ladies, they brought extra oil for their lamps, and so their lamps were lit. But the foolish ladies, they didn't have enough oil, they didn't bring any extra, and so they were stumbling around the dark trying to find him. By the time they were able to find a store and go buy extra oil, the bridegroom and the 5 smart ladies were already at the wedding feast and the door was closed. So, what is Jesus trying to tell us in this parable? Well, it's easy. Make sure that you invest in an oil company. No, I'm just kidding. He's telling us what we said in the beginning. It's important to always be prepared. So, how does this apply to us in our lives? Well, let's say that your family and you take a drive out in Death Valley Desert where the sun is blazing hot. Don't you think that your parents should bring along some water? I mean, you don't want to get stuck in that desert. Oh my goodness. Or maybe you know that your teacher loves to give pop quizzes. And so what do? You study so that when the quiz pops, you're going to be ready. Or if you live in an area that's very prone to having storms, then you make sure that you have an emergency kit that has in it, wait a minute, this is sounding familiar, an oil lamp so that you can actually see when the lights go out. So we get it. Be prepared. But what is Jesus asking us to be prepared for? Well, we all know that Jesus is going to come back for all of us so that we can come into the kingdom of heaven. But He wants us to be prepared, and He wants us to make sure that we know what we need to do to get into the kingdom of heaven. And those are things like having faith and coming to church and being part of our community. Those things are what make us prepared, so when Jesus does come, He's going to find us ready, lit with our oil lamps of faith, so that we can enter with Him into the kingdom of heaven. So thanks everybody for watching, and actually this video reminds me that my phone's dead and I need to go charge my phone. So remember, like, share, subscribe. We'll see you soon.